Hello, and thank you for joining me again today on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please leave a review or rating on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a moment and really helps the show reach more loss and infertility families. Today, I am talking with Maegan. She was diagnosed with PCOS and told she would never be able to have kids. She had 2 healthy daughters before getting pregnant with her 3rd baby. She then lost her son at 18 weeks pregnant due to anencephaly and CHD. In this episode, she talks about going through her loss and how it's important to not lose your entire self after going through such a heartbreaking loss. Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Maegan. Maegan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Maegan. I am 31. I live in Southeast Louisiana. I'm a mental health tech, and I'm also an admissions tech at one of the local hospitals. I have 2 living daughters, and I have 1 angel baby. And I am just a regular person trying to survive every day, day by day.
Yeah, I feel like that's how a lot of us are, especially after going through loss, We have to kind of learn to live a new life.
Absolutely, especially with what I had to go through. I know everyone's different, different circumstances for everybody, and everyone's got a different thought process. And it's just, you don't know, you see it on TV and you read about it and you see these movies and you're just like, I don't know how I could, I don't know how they're doing it. I could never until you go through it. And then it's like, okay, now you kind of got to figure out what to do. You kind of given a choice, but you really don't have a choice but to grieve and find your grieving process.
Yes, you're so right about that. I mean, I definitely think we have this idea of how it's supposed to be, like you said, from TV and movies and things, and it's just that's not really real life.
No, it's not. It's glamorized to the public eye, I feel. It's not truly in depth unless, different blogs and stuff, they go into more detail, and it kind of just hits home right there because you're trying to find something to relate to, and then you read these blogs and it's like, wow, that's exactly how I feel. I feel like that person is me going through, we just went through the same thing, together, but from a distance.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I feel that way as well. And then it's just so nice to know that you're not the only one who feels like you do, or that you're not crazy or weird for what you're thinking. It's nice to know that there's people that are just like you out there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So do you mind sharing a little bit about your lost story?
I would love to share my lost story. I'm all about sharing a good story. So I was diagnosed with PCOS at a young age, and I was told I would never be able to have kids. And then I met my oldest daughter's dad, and I carried her to full term. 2 years later, I met my youngest daughter's dad, carried her to full term, and I was told that I could never have kids anymore. And last January, I met my son's father, and miraculously, I became pregnant. And it was just a shock, and it was beautiful, and I was really, truly prepared for it. Everything was going good. I was still working. I was walking. I was exercising. I was just kind of taking it easy a little bit. But this pregnancy felt different. I definitely felt more connected to him, but he just was very radio silent. He was very quiet. He moved around a lot. He stopped moving around. So July 7th, I had a gender reveal where my oldest daughter and her stepmom, they prepared my gender reveal, and I found out he was a boy, and I would be the first born in our family. 3 days later, on July 10th, I showed up to my OBG an hour and a half early, which was kind of funny, and they took me in. Usually I'll just hang out and wait in the lobby. And I went to the back, and that day just seemed weird. It seemed off. I don't know if you've seen the post where it's like, we're doing this, and all of a sudden the lamp starts looking funny. And that's what it felt like. Like, it felt like a haze, almost like a dissociation. And I had my youngest daughter with me. So we go to the back, and we have a new nurse with us, and she is trying to find his heartbeat, and she cannot find it. And I'm like, maybe he's being stubborn. But then I had this feeling like in my bones, like tingling down my spine. Like I had this feeling something was wrong. The head nurse came in. It took her 20 minutes more. She couldn't find a heartbeat. And they kind of gave each other this look. And I already knew. Like, I knew something was wrong. And I texted my mom because I had my daughter with me. And I was like, I think something's wrong with the baby. They're making me go to the ultrasound room, like the confirmation room. I need you to come. And so she showed up in a heartbeat. She was waiting in the lobby. We went to the back, and my heart is palpitating. And we're in the room. The doctor comes in. They do an ultrasound, and he's not moving. He wasn't moving. He was kind of just laying there. And he did where you see the red and the blue, like the blood flow, and there was no blood flow. So he confirmed then and there that he died. And it kind of just hit me. And he was like, I think you need to take some time, because I was like 18 weeks. We were about to do my anatomy exam. And it hit me. He was like, I think you need to be in here and grieve for a minute. And I said, I think I need to leave. Like, I need to leave. I need to go home. Like, this is not real. I'm just like, and then my poor daughter, she's sitting there and she's looking at the big old flat screen. She's like, oh, look at my brother. And I'm like, oh, God, this is traumatizing. And I'm trying not to cry in front of her because she's 6 at the time. So she just knows that she's about to have a brother, and he's in my tummy, and he has a name. So my mom comes, and she's looking at me, and I just immediately, like my mommy, and I dropped my head, and I just shook my head, and sorry.
It's okay.
I don't talk about him a lot. I just try to let him be at peace, but anyways, I'm okay. So they want to schedule a confirmation ultrasound in the back, and it's literally, I've never seen the doctor's office so packed that day. It was like the most packed I've ever seen. You couldn't even find a chair to sit. So I was like, I'm just going to leave and go home, and I'm going to mentally prepare myself for this. And as we're leaving, they call me, and they're like, no, can you please come back? So we turn around, and they go to the back. My mom comes to the back, and I can just see he's just laying there. Like, there's nothing. There's no confirming if it's just he's gone. So we go to the lobby, and I told her I needed to call some people. So the first person she calls is my daughter's stepmom, because I have a very good relationship with her and my ex. They were going to be the godparents, my son. And we called her first, and she took it the hardest. My doctor calls me later, and he's like, I'm really sorry. I'm going to call you tomorrow with better results. And I was like, okay. And so he calls, we go home, and Darren and Heather, those are their names, we're trying to tell Emberlyn, my oldest daughter, and I'm like, I don't know how to tell her without crying. And I'm like, can y'all just tell her? And they're like, no, you need to tell her. She lives in Luling, I live in Covington, that's like an hour and a half away, and I couldn't be in the car. So we get on the camera, and I have my youngest daughter with me, and my oldest daughter, they're video chat talking to each other, and I'm like, so, Mommy went to the doctor today for Liam, and something's wrong with the baby. And then she said, did he die? And I said, yes, he died. And she just, it broke her heart. After that, the next day, the doctor called me and said, so it looks like he's been dead for about a week. And my cervix was faulty, so it was going to have to be a C-section again. And he's like, I want to take you in as soon as this weekend, but I have to wait for a special pill to come in. We got to order it from out of state because of the Roe v. Wade, because it's used for selective procedures. He said, if it doesn't come in, I'm going to have to take you in and we're going to have to do a D&C. And that was my worst nightmare. Like, my child does not deserve to be sucked up in some straw. Sorry. Like, cut me open and I'll live, like, I have a C-section scar. Like, I'll live with that proudly, knowing that I've brought my child into this world to be laid to rest. So finally, I get the call to go in on Monday. And it was just very depressing. Like, we were very mournful. I bed-rotted for like 3 days, and I'm trying to keep myself together because my youngest daughter's there, and I'm like, I don't have a choice. I'm going to, like, pick up the pieces. Like, I don't have a choice. And I'm trying to be strong. And we go to the hospital on July the 15th or 16th. It was very early. I think it was the 16th we went in, and the bereavement nurse was there. She walked me to the back. I made plans with a funeral home to have him cremated, which, by the way, in the state of Louisiana, they offer services for free for infant loss, which I was so grateful for. I was fine that day. I was in pajamas. I kind of just accepted it. I read a few things on Quora, and I still have it saved on my phone. And it just hit me like what this woman went through. And I was like, this makes me feel a little better. Like, whatever, it is what it is. So we go to the back, and they're giving me the process. They're telling me everything. They're sticking me with the IV in the hand and the arm. And they're telling me I can wear whatever I want. And we're just all kikiing and la-la, trying to make the best of the situation. I asked to have no visitors just because I felt like if people showed up, it would make me more emotional. And I just didn't want people to see me like that. What else happened? Oh, they came in, they prepared me, and my bereavement nurse came in and prepared me with what may happen, because at this point he's been floating dead in my stomach for about 2 weeks now. So at any point, which I've done my research, he could be a loss of limb. His skin may be peeling. He may be purple, almost black in color because of the blood and the rigor mortis setting in the blood and no blood flow to him. And she prepared me for all this, and she gave me the option. She said, you can hold him when he's born, or you don't have to. So it was just a waiting game at that point. The pill came. They had to do it once every hour to dilate my cervix. And then I had never had a natural birth before. So that was very interesting. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up because they kind of did their rounds, and I felt a pop. And that was my water coming out of my cervix, like my water bag. And I looked at my mom. I said, oh, my God, he's coming. And she ran so fast. I think she almost flew in the hallway, flying out there to go grab somebody. And I called them, and they came in. They propped my legs up, and they said, okay, that's the water bag. We need you to push. So, and I think that was the scariest part, because I just wanted him to stay in me forever. At that point, like, I felt like if I couldn't give you life, like, can I just carry you for the rest of mine? Like, please. Like, oh, it was horrible. I just felt like my body betrayed me. Like, how could you do this? You had one job, and you couldn't even do that. Like, what kind of a person, what kind of a mother, what kind of a woman am I? But it all stopped when he was born. I pushed 3 good times. He came out, and he was just so perfect. He was intact. His skin, he had all his fingers and toes, and time just stopped. Time stopped, and time stood still, and I immediately held him. And it was just me and him in that moment. And it was everything to me. He looked perfect. He just looked like he was sleeping. And I hated that I had to give him away. I had to have surgery after. But when I woke up after surgery, because the placenta was super glued to the top of my uterus, so they had to go and do a D&E. And I asked my mom, because they put him in the cooler crib. They took pictures. I have pictures. And I told my mom, I said, please stay with the baby. So she felt obligated to stay with him, you know. I was in surgery for like an hour, and she said that she had to ask them to take him back because he's in a cooler crib, which is what they give for infant children to sustain their, I guess, post-mortem lifespan before gravity starts setting in. What else happened? I went to the back, and he wasn't there. I asked for somebody to come in and bless him before they picked him up. And local pastor from our local church, he came, Rusty, he came and he blessed the room, and he blessed Liam, and he blessed me. And it just was so hard to tell him goodbye. It was very hard leaving, knowing that his remains are still at the hospital, and I got to go home, but I didn't get to go home with my baby. Like, why couldn't he make it? But the doctor didn't want to do an autopsy because he was still too little, and that would have, like, ripped him in half. But they did some tests, and come to find out, he passed away because he had anencephaly, and that he had a congenital heart disease that he would have succumbed after birth anyway, and that he wasn't even supposed to make it past 6 weeks in the womb, and he fought as long as he could to be with me. We had him cremated. I had him put in some jewelry. I have his memory box in my closet. I have his teddy bear from the cooler crib. I sleep with it every night. I talk to it, which I don't think myself as crazy anymore because I call the bear Liam because that is my son's name. One thing I'm grateful for is the missionary that partnered with me. They gave me a gift box when Liam was born, and it's called Hunter's Hope Missionary. I'm very close with Miss Connie, she's the head organizer of everything. I asked her permission, and she said, absolutely, please talk about it. Hunter's Hope Missionary is a missionary designed from Miss Connie, who she went through the same thing. Everything was fine, and then she went to the doctor's appointment, and Hunter passed away. He was asleep in the womb, and she felt so alone, and she didn't want to feel alone anymore, and she didn't want people to feel alone. So she designed this organization where she puts your babies on these missions with Hunter, And so far, Liam has traveled places I never would imagine to have gone. And he's spreading the message of love and faith and hope to other moms who are going through the same thing in other families. And that's just the greatest blessing of all. And I'm just so grateful that he could make such an impact. It's such a big impact in such a small world with everything going on that there's still a little goodness in the world, you know?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Thank you so
But
much for sharing that with us.
thank you.
I know it's so hard to talk about our babies,
Uh,
even though it also feels so good to talk about them, to acknowledge them and share their story.
yeah, I talk about him at work to my girlfriends, and I don't cry, and they're like, "I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "Do you want to see pictures of him?" And they're like, "Okay," and they're like, "He looks like an angel," and I'm like, "He was an angel." After going through all this, I realized, and I had court with my youngest daughter, and that was a sham. And I had lost two children back to back, 7 days apart. And I was losing my mind. And I said, I've got to escape. I've got to run away. So I disappeared for a week at a friend's house. And I said, I have nothing but time on my hands now. What am I going to do? So now I snapped back. I kind of had my moment, and I cried in the shower. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to school for my psychology. I'm going to get my bachelor's in psychology to become a grievance counselor to help families grieve the proper way, because I snapped back so quick. I should still be moping around, and I'm not. And it's very shocking and surprising. And I wish other people had the same strength to just pull themselves up, or maybe they need somebody, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be that person to make a difference.
I think that is such an amazing thing. I mean, yeah, it's even if you have the most supportive family and friends in the world, it's just such a lonely and isolating
It
time.
is. They don't know. They just don't know. It's like, you feel sorry for me. Oh, you're sorry I'm going through this, but do you know what I'm really? This is the most, one of the most unnatural things in this world is to bury your children. Your children are supposed to bury you, not this. You're not supposed to see them. But in the stake of it all, it's also a blessing, because the way that this world is nowadays, I'm more grateful that my son gets the chance to be free in streets of gold with all the other lost souls and other children, rather than grow up in this world and me worry about if he's going to live the next day. I know he's at peace, and that I know we will see each other again, and that in ways he comes to me, and I've accepted that, and I'm at peace, and I just love him so much. I do.
Do you have any like special things that were like signs that you think are from him?
Elephants. So I associate elephants with him because Jumbo and Mama Jumbo. It's just elephants have memory. They hold memory, and they never forget. And this is one of those things where I will never forget this. And he was going to be my last baby. He was going to be my last baby. And I was just so glad I was getting to redo being a mom and being a boy mom for the first time, and being a sane mom and a present mom. But elephants, Dumbo, I see little elephants everywhere. We were at church a month and a half ago, and I said, I'm going to go to church because I'm going to show thanks to God for all he has done for me Even if it's just the smallest crumb of things, he did it for me, in mind of me, and I'm grateful. So we go to church, and I just got off work because I work overnight, and I said, Mom, I gotta go sit in the coffee area because and I'm gonna watch the service on the screen, because if I sit in this ambiance theater, I'm gonna be rude and I'm probably gonna pass out because it was just so peaceful. And I went to the coffee bar and I sat out there, I'm watching the service, and the pastor is talking about they had a couple friends, like a husband and a wife, and they live in Nevada, and they were expecting their son, and little Liam passed away at 18 weeks. And they had his nursery, his Dumbo. And I said, if that is not my son saying, hey, Mom, I'm here and I'm okay. And it just sent chills down my spine. And that's
Wow.
how I knew that was, yes. So I just got him his ornament. Or do my kids special ornaments. So my oldest daughter wanted Alice. My youngest daughter wanted Marie from Aristocats, and I got him a Dumbo. And the girl who did my Etsy order, she was so compelled and moved that what I was ordering it for, and why picking her shop, and she felt so special for that she monogrammed and specialized the ornament where it, instead of saying Dumbo in Dumbo format, it says Liam Roy. And it's Mama Jumbo holding baby Dumbo, and it says, Baby Be Mine. And that was his song, Baby Be Mine. So I have it hanging on his special shelf on the wall in my room.
I love that so much. That is just so special.
Thank you.
So it sounds like you had good support from your mom. Did you have support from other people in your life?
So we were kind of going through a little tussle with the family. So I had my mom, I had my oldest daughter's dad and stepmom, bonus mom, sorry, and her family, and my grandma, and that was really it. And my kids, the neighbors were like adopted family. You know, you move in somewhere, you're adopted into the family. I had them. They were just all so supportive. They were so happy to see me, so happy, and they were all ready for him to be here. And that was all I needed. I didn't need the world to know. I just needed people in my world to be there for me. And I accepted it, and I was enough to know that I loved him and he didn't need anybody. He had me. And that was enough for me.
Do you feel like you received good support from your medical team?
Oh, yes. Oh, we were talking about after. Yes, my medical team was the best. I nominated my bereavement nurse, Christy, for the Daisy Award at the local hospital because she just was nonstop texting my phone, checking in with me, seeing where I was mentally and emotionally. And I just kept in touch constantly with the missionary, with Miss Connie. She just was there throughout the whole thing along with Miss Christie. And I think when you go through this, if anybody's listening and they're like preparing for something like this, when you prepare, you're going to be in the labor and delivery department. But when you deliver, you're going to be in the NICU with the recovering moms. And it's just a courtesy because those babies are in the NICU. They're not there, so you don't hear any crying babies. You don't see any crying babies, which at that point, it may just be a comfort for you to hear a cry or see a baby. I walked to the nursery window every day because I wanted to see a baby. I just wanted to see them. I just wanted to look and see them, and that would make me feel better, knowing that I could see somebody who was going through joy in my time of grief. That would make me just the happiest to to see that. But I had the best team at a really good hospital. My OBG, he is he was it. He was so sweet and so thoughtful and very mindful and respectful through the whole thing. And he was my first doctor. So he's known me from the jump in the beginning, and he just walked me through it, and that was it. I've never felt more love from a group of healthcare workers before in my life. They were just on it, always checking on me, just talking to me. Hey, what's up? What's going on? And we're just talking about life. And then shift change, and then new ones would come in, but they were just always there.
I think that's great. I think so many times we just hear about all the bad things or the ways that people were mistreated during their loss. And I think it's so nice to hear about, and to see that there are doctors that aren't horrible.
Yes, and I know a lot of people deal with horrible doctors and horrible birthing experiences, but also everything's reactionary because everyone's reacting in the moment and everyone reacts to things differently. And this is my perspective. I try to be kind to everyone, no matter how ugly they're being to me, because I don't know what just happened to them. They could have got the most devastating phone call, and it's affecting their work. And I'm going to be patient with them and let them be whatever, because you know what? Being kind is all that matters. That's it. Be kind. But everyone that goes through, and it's just different experiences, some like on the news, and doctors being so aggressive with it. And I feel for them. I feel for those moms and those families, because and I feel for the doctor too, because in that moment the doctor was making a judgment. It really is a judgment, and it's a call, and it's what their job is. They have to make the call. And I just feel so bad for everyone and the hurt they all go through.
That's a good point. I mean, I've never really thought of it that way, like from the doctor's perspective, but I'm sure that for some of them, it's probably really hard to tell a patient that or to have to be the one to deliver or, we don't really think about that.
Yeah, I'm a realist. So I like to rip the band-aid off, because I'd rather you tell me now, and I can cry about it or have my moment and work through the issues. That's just where I am on things. And so for my doctor, I mean, we have that type of relationship where I tell him, I'm like, give it to me straight. What is going on? And he'll tell me, he'll be like, look, it ain't good. I'm really sorry. And he puts the hand on your shoulder, and I'm like, don't do that. Don't coddle me. I need to know the truth, and I need you to we need to be honest with each other, and I'll be okay. And I think a lot of people need to have transparency with their healthcare professionals. They're not your best friend, but they're your caregiver, and that's their job, and that's what they're licensed to do, and that's what they go to school for. And it's also transparency is everything. Just don't coddle it, don't sugarcoat it. And I think a lot of people are scared of hearing the truth. And I think that in moments like that, they need to just have the truth told to them and work through the issues later.
Yeah, no, I agree. I found out during my pregnancy with Jasmine that she had some conditions, and the MFM that I saw at the time was kind of like she wouldn't really tell it to me straight. She kind of just kept like talking around the issue. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not understanding like what does this mean? Things like that. So I ended up switching MFMs.
Right.
And then that one was definitely like the kind you talk about, like the direct, like this is how it is. And it was what I needed in that moment.
Right. And those things, that's what the patients need. That's their job, right? The Hippocratic Oath, to protect and to care. And maybe the line of care is being honest. Like being respectfully honest and being tasteful in it, by saying, I'm telling you this because you're my patient, and from your file and how long I've known you, I think this is the line of care you need, and I'm going to tell you. And a lot of doctors are scared to do it because they're like, I don't want, like, that's a sore subject. You know what? Do it. Jump in, because you don't know how they're going to take it. Maybe they just need you to be honest because other people are sugarcoating things for them their whole life. And you're that one person that can tell them. And maybe being honest will help them work through this, because sugarcoating things like that and things like diagnosing children in the womb and sugarcoating that, that's not going to help, because I'd rather be honest, like, all right, this is what's going on. This is what we need to do. They do it with other patients in other circumstances, right? So what's the difference with an unborn baby? Tell me, what is the difference between somebody getting diagnosed with a terminal illness versus an unborn baby who has the chance to fight at life and what we could do now? I want to exhaust every option I have, because what would you do if that was your child? What would you do? Right? You'd want to know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's exactly what I was trying to find out. Like, what are my options here? And I just couldn't get clear answers. And it was very frustrating because then it just left me more scared and more anxious and more confused. And I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Right. Like, my bereavement nurse told me, she said, you're going to get your blood results back from the placenta. They're going to do all the tests and the loops and the poops and whatever. And I don't want you driving when you get them. Well, she didn't tell me they were going to come in periods. They did not come all at once, by the way. They came 3 at a time every day for 5 days. So now I'm confused. My mom's confused. She's a nurse, but she doesn't know anything about prenatal or what any of this means. She doesn't. So she's trying to read everything, and I'm like, Mom, I'm confused. I never aggravated my doctor and my bereavement nurse more in my life than getting those results. And then finally he was like, look, save the questions. When you come in a week, we're going to talk about everything. I said, good, because I literally can't sleep at night. Like, I'm Googling everything. Dr. Google is telling me what all this means. I'm like, oh my God, did I do something? I worked at a vet's office around animals, and you told me that was safe. So really, should I have quit my job? Like, did petting Phyllis really jumpstart something that hurt my child? Like, please. Like,
Yeah,
am I
it's so
crazy?
scary.
It's nuts. It's like, I feel cuckoo. I felt cuckoo the whole time. Like, I know we're all a little nuts, but I felt like I judicially committed nuts going through all this. I was like, nobody is going to understand. And really, people understand. You just don't even know behind that door how many people are sitting there twiddling their thumbs and scared to look at each other because they're all going through the same thing and they're too scared to speak up to one another. Like, it's insane, the percentage of babies in the world. Like, alone, around the time I lost my son, 20 other women on social media lost their babies the same way too. It was just, their heart stopped. And it's like, there's something in the water. Like, what? It's
Wow.
just, it happens.
And you would never know that many people around you are going through it because people don't want to talk about it.
I know it. See me, I'm an advocate for opening my mouth and talking about stuff. I just don't talk about the trinity of you don't talk about things with people. But anything else, I talk about it because I want to know. I do. I want to know. What do you know? Let's talk about it. Let's go down a rabbit hole and have coffee and then end up talking about it for 6 hours. I mean, I don't know. But it's nuts. But it's good to see when other people are thriving, and it hurts to see other people hurting. And what hurts more is the people that are hurting that go into that postpartum depression because after you have a baby and you don't get to take, you do go through a postpartum depression because you did give birth. It is still possible. I went through it. I went through postpartum anxiety. I went through postpartum depression, reoccurring postpartum depression. And that's another thing. They're so quick to put grieving moms on antipsychotics. I went to see my doctor after a month, and you know what? You wanted to put me on lithium. I said, are you crazy? Have you ever heard a good story about somebody on lithium? Like, I've taken lithium and my life is great. No, you know why? Because they're locked up in padded rooms somewhere and talking to like, no. But let me tell you something. Self-medication is the best medication. And what I mean by that is grounding yourself with the earth. Dating, like learning to love yourself. Go through a purge. Get rid of everything. Get rid of everything. Go through a cleanse. Go on a walk. Go on vacation for 3 weeks. Whatever you need to cleanse yourself and reset yourself internally, you do it. Because at the end of the day, you got to take care of you, because there's only one you. There's no other. Just you.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think, we go through so many emotional changes too, and we might as well embrace it and just go all out and being our new self.
Exactly. Like, there's so many of my friends after I had Liam, and they didn't want to tell me that they were doing little functions or whatever. They didn't want to invite me. I'm like, why? Why do I have to be the black sheep now? How do you know I don't love going to Target and shopping in the baby section? You think I'm not, like, I love spending money. Are you crazy? And it's baby stuff? Please let me dress your child in a bowler hat and suspenders. So it's good. Like, you just have to, yes, everyone's grieving process is so different, and it's okay. And what's untalked about is the family's grieving process, because it's not just the mom, it's the husband, the boyfriend, the fiance, the grandma, the big sister, or the big brother, or the godparents. Those people are affected too. Like, my mom took it very hard. She became very connected to this pregnancy. She was so excited. She made me a registry and I didn't even know. And when this happened, I think she looked more mournful than I did. I had panda eyes for like weeks, and she just looked like the Grim Reaper was sitting on her shoulders. So a lot of that's not talked about too. You got to talk about things. You can't get through the problem if you don't talk about it. And maybe it's because I'm in the mental health field, and I'm a big advocate on mental health. And don't be shameful to talk about what you're going through, because everybody's going through something. Mm-hmm. You don't know what it is, but it could be big, it could be small, it could be nothing, it could be something. But you know what? It's their something. It's your something. And who cares? You're going through it, and you've got to cope with it, but you got to talk about it. The more you hold it in, the bigger the void's going to get, and then people just fall off every end of the wagon, or they just fall, they dissociate with themselves, and then that becomes a bigger problem. So you got to take care of yourself in the end. Like, go get a motel room and wipe on your phone. Just do it. Go for the weekend and DoorDash whatever you want and watch movies and sit in a muumuu in a bonnet or your pajamas and a messy bun. Whatever makes you happy. Who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something grand. It could be just having that time to yourself to just do what you want to do.
Yeah, pick up that Starbies and go sit at the park. I went to the state park, the Fontainebleau State Park. That's what we have around here. And grounding myself with the earth, which it sounds so hippie, by the way, but really, you need to do that. You need your vitamin D. You need your vitamin B. You need to feel every aspect that the world has to give. Like, yes, a part of you is lost, but you don't have to lose all of you. Go sit and have a picnic and look at the sunrise and the sunset and listen to the water and listen to all the sounds. Like, those are the beautiful things happening in the world. And you just don't want to, trust me, because once it's over, it's over. And you can't take it back. Time is precious, very precious.
Yes, it definitely is. I think that's such a powerful thing that you said too, is that yes, you lost a part of you, but you don't want to lose all of you. I think everybody needs to
Exactly.
hear that again.
Everybody who's listening or who will be listening, you are only you. You can only do so much. Don't give more than what you can, and don't lose yourself in this process. You can't lose all of you because of one part of you. And it may have been the biggest part of you. Like, do not ever forget that. But in memory, in good memory, would you be like that if they were here? No, you would not. You have to live life in memory of them. And you have to do it with truth, intention, and from the heart. You have to live like that. I promise it'll change your life. I promise.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I know I'm a mess, but thank you for your patience and listening to me and really hearing me. And I think that means more to me, that you wanted to hear my story and you wanted me to share my story, and that it would be such a big part of you and your your thing. So thank you for having me, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maegan, for sharing your story with us. I think it's so important to again highlight how life-changing this type of loss is. It can literally change every single part of us in ways we don't even imagine or realize. It's not something we just bounce back from the next day, the next week, even the next year. And it can be so, so hard to not get sucked into letting that grief take over everything. It's okay to let it take over for a while, but I agree with Maegan that we don't want to lose our entire self in the process. Have you heard of the term losing your pink? This is based off of the female flamingos who temporarily lose their pink as they take care of their young. It has often been applied to human mothers, as we tend to sometimes lose our spark and lose ourselves temporarily as we adjust to life as a new mother. The same is true about loss and infertility moms. We can lose ourselves, and we lose that spark and that joy and that self that we used to be. And getting our pink back is simply learning how to live with and accept and love our new self. It may not ever be the same shade of pink again, but that's okay. This is the new us. This is our new reality. What are your thoughts on this? Do you feel like you've lost your pink too? Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please leave a review or rating on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a moment and really helps the show reach more loss and infertility families. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.